What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from Team Generations, and today we're back again with another deck profile. Today we're going to be looking at a list for an updated version of Magnolia Elder coming out of set 9. So I know overall the general sentiment right now is that grade 4 decks are a little bit too slow, but the way this is kind of built, I believe that you can really make it to the long game, kind of get into your grade 4 and really get into the swing of things as soon as you kind of hit the grade 3. If you guys are interested too, I do have like a grade 3 rush build. It's way more budget than this overall. That is also on the channel, kind of using 50 cards budget deck and then kind of upgrading it with some of the set 9 stuff and just taking it in a slightly different direction. So I'm super excited to bring this to you guys. I don't know why, I've just been grinding Magnolia lately, so I feel like it's actually a really fun deck, pretty good into some matchups, and kind of like a sleeper pick right now. So without further ado, let's hop right in. Kicking us right off, we are starting off with 4 of Magnolia Elder. So Magnolia Elder, like I said, still is the mainstay of the deck. This is your ultimate goal. This is what you want to get to. 5k to all your rears. When you place on Van, choose a card from your soul, call it to rear. Pairs up well with some of the other cards that got unrestricted for us over here. And also, if you have one or more cards with Magnolia in their soul, obviously on the rear guard or in your soul, all your rear guards, like I said, get 5k, can attack from the back row, can intercept also. So just still actually pretty strong. Like I feel like we're in the point of the game now where like the Brandgades do deck in pretty well, and the Brandgate decks, yeah, they decked in pretty well. But overall, like, if your opponent doesn't see a lot of triggers, I feel like you can still break through a lot of their kind of cards in general. And even if they do, like, you still have a really great farming turn. This deck is all about farming in a way, and this guy kind of enables us to do that. So 4 of him, getting right into our rest of our grade 3s now. Obviously, no other 4s in the deck. We're going to go back for Inlet Pulses. I know they're really expensive. I'm sorry if you're kind of looking to dodge this card, but the way this deck is built, the way this strategy kind of unfurls, I feel like you have to have this card, even with the new card that did come out. This just allows us to draw so much every single turn. So you're drive checking off of your Vanguard, even your first grade 3. Take all these calculations, just subtract 1 pretty much from the drive checks, but 3 drive checks from your Magnolia Elder. You can kind of recycle this card, get them back turn after turn. Gives you an extra draw. So you have 2 of those, 2 extra draws. The next card is another draw. So you're drawing like 6 cards pretty much like every single turn, which really helps you in general. So I do like this card. I'm still running it at 4 of over here. It's unfortunate, it's still really expensive even with the reprint, but if you have a copy of them, toss them in the deck. It is what it is. I'm sorry. Next up over here, we are going to be looking at a new card actually out of the set. This is Sylvan Hornbeast, a Golido, I think that's how to say it. Really awesome card for 2 reasons. So first, auto win the drop in your Vanguard with Magnolia, and its card name is placed during your ride phase. If your soul does not have one of these guys in there, put this card into your soul. Choose your inner Vanguard, choose one of your Vanguards, give it an extra 5k. This is actually pretty big because previously you just dropped like a 15k shield. It's like a 2 to pass. So now this makes the 15k shield just a 1 to pass, so that may seem like a small number, but it is impactful overall. And also, we do need soul, and it's actually good to kind of, you could possibly recycle this also. Soul in this deck is pretty important, so putting it into soul is good. Back row rearguard circle, when this unit attacks, it gets an extra 10k until the end of battle. And at the end of the battle, if this unit is in the center column, retire this unit and draw a card. So we do, again, get more card draw off of this. You always want to put that in that center rearguard column overall, so that kind of just is the game plan, the strategy. An extra free 10k, no stipulation. Just an extra draw. It's really solid overall. Could set up your next ride phase as well. So if they're looking to bind stuff off your board or whatever, really relying on their retire, don't worry about it. You kind of wipe yourself anyway and kind of respawn. Over here, next up, we are still looking at Sylvan Hornbeast Alpin. So Alpin is still solid. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with Magnolia in its card name, this guy gets 5k until the end of battle for every 2 of our grade 2 or greater units, and this unit is 10k or greater by this effect. At the end of the battle, we bind this unit, countercharge 1, soul charge 1. So again, you kind of vacate your field, which it is what it is, but the counterable charge and the soul charge, like I said, there's certain points in the game where you do actually want to soul charge. You don't have to bind this unit if you don't want to, so that's another thing. You can just leave them on the board. That is a cost to bind the unit and then countercharge, soul charge. So giving yourself like an extra free K, like a free beater over here. So when we look at it, basically, so for every 2 of our grade 2 or greater units, so that includes the Vanguard's greater units. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. Technically, it would then get 2k, 5, 5, 5. That's an extra 15k over here, 25k plus the extra 5k from our Vanguard makes us a 30k. So it's typically more than a 1 card to guard. So I really think this is actually a decent thing. Still in the deck at 3 of. Next up here, still running 2 NPICs. I think NPICs is still pretty solid. Gives itself that free 10k. On top of that, gives itself that 5k from your Vanguard. Typically, this is the one that you choose in the back row if you don't have the new guy. I think with the new card, you kind of do phase out this card a little bit, but still in some matchups, this is pretty good. If you are playing Prism, I'm sorry. I know some people are kind of back on that hype train. I don't know 100% why, but I think this actually is really solid into it and just kind of helps you protect some of your units if you did want to keep them on board, if you want to keep itself on board too. So yeah, 2 of them, free power, little resist is always good. Next up, 1 Kubisa. I still think this is a great card. Pass around the over trigger power, pass around power on the triggers in general. Again, we're not like too resource intensive in terms of counterblast in this deck. Soul blasting, I'll show you why in a little bit we might be, but overall, I think this is still really solid. Just a nice little hidden tool in any arsenal. I'm not running any of like the guard restrict grade 2. I know some people are putting that in there. I just don't feel like I need it necessarily at this point in the game. The idea of this deck really is to just farm out and kind of go further, go the extra mile, be able to keep up hand size with some of the better decks in the format at the moment, and this really does allow us to do that, this build. Next up into the grade 1s then, we are looking at 2 of the Sylvan Hornbeast Sorrel. So I think only 2 is fine. We do have the other ride line. We do draw a lot in this deck in general. Think of it this way, every single I'll go over the mulligan a little bit later over here, but essentially you basically call this down when it's placed from deck or hand. You get to Soul Blast 1, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose a card Magnolia from among them, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck, and then if you have a grade 3 or a Vanguard with Magnolia in its card name, you Persona Ride increases the power of the back row units as well. We're not really concerned about that. We don't really Persona Ride in this deck. It's just the grade 3 build, but still, the consistency part of this is really good. Any more than 2, I feel like this starts to become a brick towards the end of the game. You can boost your Vanguard with it, sure, but we really want to reserve that back row rear guard center for something else. So I think that this card is best at 2 of over here. I see it often enough. I see the grade 4 when I really need to. There's only one time out of my past like 6 test games that I didn't see the grade 4 on my turn where I would have wrote it. So yeah, next up for our grade 1s, we are getting 3 of the Planner Prevent Dragon over here, just the PGs. This is the good one. They do have the reprint too, like the new version of it. Choose any which one you want. I'm just running the original one over here. And then lastly, getting into our orders. So firstly, Elementaria, just still need it, still good. With Messiah about to run around, with Chrono Jet running around, the triple drive kind of thing is relevant right now. Grade 4 decks aren't as prevalent, but at the same time, still a PG, gets around some of the guard restrict too. You just need it in pretty much every Overdress deck. This guy is still good, especially if you can kind of find it on your Magnolia turn. Reviving 2 things is pretty good in general, so just for a counterblast. I feel like a lot of our resources are used up by our order cards, but I'm still running 2 of the Spiritual Body Condensations, just because I don't want to mill my deck with the other order. This Soul Blast on this is good because you can get out whatever card that you want from your soul, put it back onto rear. So if you do that with the Gold Goat or the what is it over here, the Impulses, it's still really solid because you get itself out of the soul and then you get back onto the field. And the Gold Goat works really well as well because it puts itself into soul, so it kind of like costs, it's almost free, this cost over here, and it gets you another card draw guaranteed at the end of turn. So actually really solid. I'm still running this over here. There are times where like you do call things down, you do want to just kind of recycle. I feel like it has its moments in the deck. It's kind of hard to say off the top of my head, but just the extra 5k shield over here and something that kind of bounces back to my hand could actually be a lifesaver in the long run. So I do actually still run 1 of those, oddly enough. And then 2 of these over here. Walls that melt sound of rain, melt in the sound of rain. I'm sorry, I can't really see the text too well. But your opponent chooses one of their rear guards, retires it, and then you choose one of your cards from your drop at the same grade. This is really good when your opponent has like limited stuff, and this deck doesn't really have removal. So sometimes it's like pretty good just to kind of pop this down and be like, oh wait, look, like this is a new dimension to the deck, and reviving yourself is actually pretty decent overall. And yeah, I know it's like you don't get to select, but if they only have like just grade 2s on there, we run a ton of grade 2s. They have a grade 3, we have a grade 1, we have pretty much every target to kind of call. So I feel like this is actually a pretty good card, kind of slept on overall. And let's get into the triggers now. Starting off with our triggers here, still 4 of the heal triggers. I'm just running the normal ones. I don't think that we need to run the other one, the new heal trigger. I don't think that the 2 crit one. The 2 crit one, you can maybe sneak 1 in. The multi-attack one, I don't really agree with that one at all. I'm just running the 4 plain ones. You can run whatever you want, but 4 heals obviously are necessary in the deck. I am choosing to run 6 crit over here. 4 of them into soul. You don't really, it's not 100%. You don't really use it for that, but just why not kind of deal. If we do need to put the pressure on with the crit, and then I also believe that, like I said, we need to get to the late game over here. And previously I was running 5 extra draw, but I found I was decking out like pretty often because of the amount of card draw in this, so I cut it to 3, and then I put back the front triggers. And I wasn't convinced originally, but somebody said to just try it. One of the really good players. He won the premium down in Georgia. He basically really good player. Told me at one point to try these in Magnolia, and I took him up on it now, and I think I'm definitely convinced 2 of these are actually like the perfect ratio. You see them sometimes, you're obviously swinging with your Vanguard first in most scenarios, if not all, so having that extra front trigger on there is really good. And of course we're playing Overdress, so we do have to have the over trigger. I'm going with the Blessed Favor one. You can go with the vanilla one too if you want to cut a little cost, but I think that this one is definitely a little bit better. Just heals, draws, gets you everything you kind of need, so it's still kind of like I'm running 4 draw in a way. So yeah, really solid. I think this deck is honestly enough to keep up with some of the big boys. If you can get into the right flow of things and the right pace, I feel like it's very hard to close this out because of the card draw that this deck does kind of include. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. I personally really am enjoying this deck, and I want to know if you guys are too, so thank you in advance. This is Alex from Team Generations signing out.